Let's see. How did I hope the research went there for the video too, Saka? I hope the Teepers. Hello, Teepers. It's been a long while. Stream got cut up like those drifters I keep in my basement. I mean, hi, Krayven. Teepers, that's sick, man. It's great to see you back. It's been a hot minute. Coming straight in with some outstanding banter. You blame the summer heat. Yeah, I do as well. Your secret is safe with me, and I'm sure all of us. I'll just catch up with the rest of the chat. To Saka, I hope the research in Manchester Library went well for the review video. Is that a music review thing that you're doing? Coconut says you're enviable. I know that means little coming from a man whose talents stop at Stickman. No, I love kind words. My ego lives for kind words. My Stickmen look so bad, I don't even like to look in a mirror. Oh, yeah, but Andy, you've got a bit of Coconut. You've got a ton of other talents. Oh my goodness. Oh, Dex is the new stream boss. Wow. He's for every one of us. And for every one of us. This I'm a Coconut. Thank you so much for gifting citizenship to Teepers After Dark. Their Cravenstown visa is approved, and you are once again, for the 92nd time, I think, without scrolling to look, because I'm still catching up, amaze balls. Your balls are a literal maze, and they actually are, because they're full of all these ducks and tubes and things and everything like that. Indeed, hit that legit. There you go. See, Teepers, now you've got to at least show up for every single stream without fail for the whole rest of the month, because I'm a Coconut is so lovely. Yes, I'll explain stream bosses in just a second. Teepers, welcome back to the ranks of the citizenry. You are not just legit, you are Cravenstown legit. Enjoy once again. I think it's once again, or maybe the first time, I think once again, your use of your legit emote, the all new one. It's replaced since the last time, the one you had all over Twitch, and someone says legit, does some legit. You can emphasize other emotes with legit, like hype and GG and that. You can make them extra legit. Wave your Cravenstown town flag loud and proud every time you chat, whether or not I'm online in this chat right here, although probably when I'm online, but for the most part it'll be when it's worth it. You'll be able to enter the Citizens Giveaway, and Citizens Giveaway will be this coming week, probably on Tuesday, folks. Whether you've got a gifted visa or a visa of your own volition, you're a citizen of your own volition, you can enter, and I'll announce the times in good time. It'll be all around Cravenstown in the Citizens Lodge. It'll be all over Twitter. Follow me at Krayven_Twitch on Twitter, so you never miss that, and my counselors will be retweeting all of that and stuff as well, and you've got to be !! Giveaway when you get there. In Cravenstown, if you're Twitch and your Discord are integrated, you will automatically be assigned the citizens role in less than an hour or less, as the bot automatically does it. Yeah, provided your Twitch and your Discord accounts are linked, and you'll be able to get the perks of Citizens Towers, a subs only section. Last by no means least, my undying appreciation and gratitude not only to yourself, but for being here, but to I'm a Coconut for 92 gifts, which is just incredible. That's absolutely unbelievable, mate. Thank you. Looking forward to dinner on Wednesday. And Shadow Nation says, yes, I forgot what the sun is, and that's what I'm going to see. Oh, cool. Cool. How long are you off to sea for, Shadow Nation? That sounds amazing. Blame the summer heat. Lag. I'm sorry about the lag. Yes, I have got frame drops because once we get through the reading section, the live reading section, we're going into Pillars 2. But Pillars 2 takes about 5 minutes to load up from the front end, so it's actually running in the background the whole time, which is causing the occasional dropped frame. 1,000 pardons. Stream bosses. That had to be.
Hoi,
yep.
Pride Lion, hey.
Darkens, hoi, Pride Lion, hey. You get to say Pride Lion, hey forever now because the emotes are going away. And that's the next thing to get to. Mega cheer for Pride Month has been extended firstly by 5 more days. Normally today was going to be the last day that you can earn the Pride emotes from people cheering 200 or more bits. We'll give it out, as well as continuing to raise money for the Trevor Project. I think the full $150,000 from Twitch has already been raised for the Trevor Project, which is fantastic. So every last one of you who has been a part of that, thank you so much. It's a really, really good cause. Better yet, the emotes are being made permanent. So if you have those Pride emotes, Twitch realised the PR, probably the PR if they took them away would have been horrific. And also they're beautiful, especially the wings and the give and take and the cheers, the Pride cheers and stuff. all look amazing, so they're going to be permanent. So whichever ones you've got, they're going to be there. I think from the 5th of July, that's the last day that you'll get to be able to earn them. But the Pride alerts are here forever, so that is absolutely fantastic. And explaining stream bosses, I'm the stream boss now. I expect those TPS reports yesterday. Thanks. So the stream boss is just a fun little thing from Streamlabs where you have anyone from your chat with their avatar and stuff gets an amount of hit points, and each alert, whether it's a new follower, a new subscriber, bits or a raid or anything, does a corresponding amount of damage to their hit points. Then it's quite random. So right at the beginning of the stream, Dex renewed her citizenship, and she killed whoever the last person was, and whoever strikes whoever's raid or host or whatever alert does the killing blow on the boss, becomes the new stream boss. So it's just a fun little bit of interactivity that is affected and governed by things that trigger alerts usually. My family has 2 houses on sea. Wow. Those houses are my family's friends, and they let us go there for free. Oh, so when you're saying go to the sea, I thought you meant literally on a boat. You meant going to the coast, so you're going to be staying by the sea. I thought, wow, you're a sailor. You're like in the merchant navy or something. That's still very cool though. And Darken's welcome on in. And Coconut starts up excellent, does things for Dex. Yes, she's a stern task mistress. Pride emotes permanent for sure. Last hit, that's a fun gimmick. Absolutely. All right, so what else? Yeah, in the coming, just for a little precursor, but I'm doing a precursor for Monday. I'd normally do the sort of start of the week information and warm up on Monday, which is the sort of start of the streaming week as I see it. But I'm not going to be on tomorrow. I'm meeting up in real life. This apparent 3D, really great graphics, real life, with Goldbergs and Redweird. Goldberg and Redweird and I are getting together for some drinks and dinner. Blood. Holy balls! 500 Pride biddies, and that just gifted 10 more Pride emotes. Thank you so much for the freaking firstest of bloodestness, Darkens. Holy crap! Right, 10 more of you have just gotten some new emotes, Pride emotes that you'll get to keep forever. So have a little look to see which ones you are, and if you feel like it, do give Darkens a very, very thoroughly deserved thank you. There we are. Shadow Nation's already on it. Excellent with the asexual pride flag. Yeah, I love that they've got all the different flags for the different identities. That's what I was after. Indeed, wowzers. And look at that big present. I love the new gifty colours. The 50 gifted. They should do a 75 one. Really. Oh, there we are. Look at that pride shine for Dex as well. Darkens once again, just like sharing love. So yeah, in the coming week, Monday evening, I'm afraid it's going to be a second week without any Mellow Out Monday, without any Fallout New Vegas. 1,000 pardons. I'm very, very sorry about that. I know a lot of you like the Fallout New Vegas stuff, and we're getting quite far into the game. So the first stream of next week will be Tuesday and be more expert mode Cuphead. So bring the sugar to counteract my salt, because that's how physics works. Then to compensate for no FPS and sort of destructo bloody violence, there will be a Whatever Wednesday stream, and the Whatever Wednesday stream will be Borderlands 2. That will be starting much like the Friday one at 3 p.m. So Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, which would be the normal days, as usual, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. But a Whatever Wednesday is a non-typical streaming day, will be Borderlands 2 from about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The schedule graphic I will work on tomorrow daytime, and that will be posted in stream info terminals. We're back to the usual 4. I also have Twitch London. Twitch London is going to be on Friday and Saturday. I'm going to both days, all 3 events. I'll be going to the quick little picnic, the Friday afternoon picnic, the VIP sponsors event on Friday night, and the main party at Twickenham Stadium on Saturday. If any of you are going, it's all being organised and discussed in the IRL events port in Cravenstown. That's what that channel, that's what that part of town is for. And yeah, for discussing and meeting up, you want to get together, you want to have a beer, you want to do all that. You're a streamer in your own right, and you're going to be along, and you want to sort of say, hey, I'd love, let's meet up and just, in real life, let me know, and we'll sort it all out there. Those friends do have a boat, and they let us go on it. So maybe a boat, and they let us go on it. It's kind of like they have a robot. Wow, your friends are amazing. Okay. With all that said, fuck, as soon as I went to close down VLC Media Player, which has my opening music, I just realised I completely forgot to start the warm-up music. For about 2 out of 3 times, I fucking forget completely. Hey, Councillor Lila's in the house. Everyone on your best behaviour. The sunshine is here. Evening. I want a robot. No, I get Shadow Nation. It's all right. You already corrected yourself. You already corrected yourself with like robot. But I just like that. Imagine if you had a robot boat. Imagine you had a robot boat, like a transformer. That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. All right. Well, we've got some lovely submissions as per usual. And most of the submissions I'm going to be doing this week are from last Sunday, because Darkins and other people posted in a bunch from last Sunday, and then obviously I couldn't because I was sick with my voice being written off. So let me just go to the suggestions forum in the streaming complex, and we're starting off. It's a lot of. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, and I'm afraid I can't do the really rude one from Duncan, and well, there's what we got. Yeah, the lewd one. 8, 9. Oh my god, we've got 9 stories. We've got 9 stories to get through, so let's crack on with those. Oh my god. Oh my goodness me. Who needs robots when we have Craybots? Very true. I'll be scared the boat would get annoyed with me and transform and leave me out to sea. Jeez. All right, story number one. Are you all sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. Right after I wet my whistle. Oh, and if you notice me looking a lot to my I guess right on screen and no longer looking down at the top of my head, it's because I have a rudimentary way of propping up my chat now, so I don't have to be like constantly looking into like the middle of my desk and into the middle of my keyboard. In actual fact, I shall just show you lovely guys and girls very quickly what that is. It's the highest of tech. It is the highest of tech. I have chat blue tacked onto a little stand to hold up a plate on my vase on my phone. So there we are. Absolutely high budget professional streamer, like definitely making the most. This is the closest I'm going to get to 2 monitors until I can actually build a new PC with 2 new monitors. But that's why I can just look here now with this defunct flower pot. You do what you can to make things work. My love of oh fucking hell, I've gone and fucked this up now, haven't I? My love of robotic advancement will doom us all. Each step clearly brings us closer to AI, which brings us closer to the war between man and machine. Blates, smart streamer. I MacGyvered that shit. I completely MacGyvered that shit. I'm feeling very proud of myself. Okay, so this is a nice one. So starting off with the majority of today's stories are going to be Reddit. This is from ProRevenge. Love a good little bit of revenge. And this was posted. Well, most of the ones I'm going to go through to begin with are from 7 days ago, or at least a week ago. So, bully creates his own revenge, and it's from user Thor's Hammer 0999. Oof, is that a good meaty one? Right, let's get our teeth into this, shall we? And before I just get started, I went to Poundland to buy an iPad stand, and I broke. And then I broke my need to have a stand like oh, you broke it, so I broke to my need so I could have a phone stand like that. Sorry, Lyle, just can't quite follow what you're getting at there. This one's okay. So here's the basics. When I was a kid, my dad was in the service, US Navy, and so we moved around a lot. So typical army brat kind of thing. Because of this, I was always a new kid over and over again, meaning I was constantly the target of would-be bullies, and this made me fairly introverted and distrusting of other people by nature. Hang on, let's pull the old microphone over a little more. Get some proper Cray SMR for your ear holes. Welcome to Story Sunday, coming in your ears. If anyone has, in the waning years of my father's military career, he decided he would take back his family back to his hometown and do some recruiting until he retired. So away we went to the family farm built by my great-grandfather. If anyone has ever found themselves moving to a small town suddenly, then you are well aware of what I mean when I say that the locals were very small town minded. For those of you who don't know, the small town mentality is basically thus. If you're not from there, born and raised, then you don't belong. A lot of small town citizens are closed off and want nothing to do with outsiders. This is a local shop for local people. There's nothing for you here. Teepers. Yeah, I imagine this would be for a few of you. You basically MacGyvered one for myself for £1. Oh, nice one, Lila. Respect. So there I was, not only the new kid, but introverted and an outsider. Bully magnet. For the most part, I tried not to let it get to me, but I did have some bad days and I got into a few fights. Always in self-defense, though. And eventually, as people grew up, most of the other kids matured out of trying to be a bully and began to just leave me alone. Especially once they found out who my great-grandfather was. Something about one of the 4 founding families. I don't know, I never really cared that much, and besides, those people had shown their true colours by treating me like crap for years by that point. But that's a different story. This story is about a kid we'll call Mike. You see, Mike was the only one who never seemed to grow out of trying to be a bully. He would daily track me down and tell me how worthless I was. That I was just some dumb farm boy who would never amount to anything and would always be a loser. He would walk up to me randomly and say things like, I know you're going to be the one who shoots up the school someday, and when it ends with your suicide, I'll be the one cheering. So he's a shitbag. He had some issues. At one point, I arrived to school to find he had painted the combination on my locker with toothpaste. A lot of weird stuff like that. Anyways, we get to our senior year of high school, and I've long since been doing my best to ignore him. His not being able to get a reaction out of me seemed to really upset him, and even his friends started saying his seeming need to find me every day to simply be a jerk was bordering on the creepy and obsessive. And then all of a sudden, the verbal abuse stopped one day, a couple of months from graduation. I assumed he had finally just given up, but that wasn't the case. A couple of weeks later, I walked to the end of our long driveway to catch the bus and found that our mailbox had been run over. I didn't think anything of it at the time other than it must have been some drunk. I got home later that afternoon, took some photos of the damage just in case, and then fixed the mailbox, new wooden post buried in the ground. I finished my other chores and homework and relaxed the rest of the evening. Next morning, I go to catch the school bus and the mailbox has again been run over. I get home, photos, repair it, chores, homework, relax. It happened again the next day, and again the next day after that. This went on for 2 weeks, only stopping on the weekend. My parents had reported the smashing of the mailbox, but there was no evidence as to who the culprit even was, so nothing was done about it. I finally have had enough of digging out the broken posts and replacing them, so the revenge. I get up early on a Saturday and head to the end of the driveway. I dig a 2 foot by 2 foot wide hole 6 feet straight down. That's a big job. And filled the hole with fresh cement. And at the centre, placed a 10-foot section of the old farmhouse's original cast iron water pipes, sunk 6 feet into the concrete. I filled the rest of the 10-foot cast iron pipe with concrete as well, and mounted the mailbox on top. Mind you, I looked into how far from the road the mailbox needed to be for safety reasons and attached ample amounts of reflectors. Monday morning comes and I notice the mailbox post has all sorts of scratches on it, but it's otherwise fine. I get to my final class of the day, creative writing, and I'm in the middle of a story outline for that week's project when a friend of Mike's comes in. We'll call him Steve. From here it goes to a sort of play dialogue style. Steve sees me and freaks out. Steve, do you have any idea what you did to Mike's car? OP, I didn't do anything to Mike's car. I don't even know what it looks like. Steve, your little stunt with the mailbox totaled it. He had to get it towed into town at 5 a.m. this morning. A small town auto garage is definitely closed at 5 a.m. Steve, he's going to sue the frank out of you. OP, but are you aware that but are you aware that deliberately hitting and or damaging a mailbox is a federal offence, right, Steve? Steve, what are you talking about? OP, you don't actually own your mailbox. Legally, it belongs to the post office. So destroying a mailbox is destroying government property, making it a federal offence. Steve, so what? He'll get a little fine, but you're going to pay. OP, oh no. It's actually a $250,000 fine or up to 3 years in prison per offence for vandalising a mailbox. And since it's happened 10 times in the last 2 weeks, that translates to either a $2.5 million fine or up to 30 years in prison. Steve just stares at me for a moment and storms out. At that point, I pull up the federal statute on the computer I was working on, and Mike comes in insisting that I'm making that whole thing up. So I show him the law, and he freezes. OP. So this is obviously to Mike. You can take me to court, and I might have to pay a small fine, maybe even tear down the mailbox. But your life would be over. Mike. Maybe, but you can't prove I did it 10 times. OP. Actually, I took photos of the damages so I can prove it was at least 10 times. But even if I couldn't, $250,000 is still a lot of money. Much more than your car is worth, I'm sure. Would you really bankrupt yourself or even get yourself sent to prison to try to force me to pay you $1,000 or $2,000 for the car? Mike stormed out of the classroom and never bothered me again. The best part was actually the domino effect this created. You see, Mike didn't have enough credits to graduate on time. He wasted too much time trying to be a Dr. Phil, a Dr. Phil case, I guess. I heard through the small town grapevine that he was eventually shunted over to adult programs by the school. Without his car, which was totaled and unable to afford another, his mother bought the first one and refused to buy a second when she found out how he totaled it. He couldn't get to his classes and was eventually tossed out of school due to attendance problems. Without a diploma or GED, he couldn't even get into a community college nor find proper work. Not having access to gainful employment left him living with his mother in a trailer, living off her and the occasional odd job he gets. Meanwhile, I'm now married with a child and living in a beautiful subtropical Algarve in the south of Portugal in Europe. Mike, if you're out there reading this, I have only one real question. How did that mailbox taste? Damn, son. Damn, that is absolutely savage, but that went so. That was pretty well done. I never had this problem. I never moved. Bloody Mike. He's a stalker. He's a murderer. The bully. That damn, indeed. That finish was glorious. Excellent. Well, you can always rely on ProRevenge for usually good things coming. Got another ProRevenge again from Mr. Darkin. So number two, we have what is this? So 8 days ago, 7,000 upvotes posted by user Packet Overlord. Scream at me and my friend in the bookstore. Let me end your entire career. So this all takes place several years ago. Let's see. Okay, cool. It's a reasonable size, medium to long. Backstory. When I was in college, my pathophysiology class had a final project worth 50% of the total grades we could earn, and the groups were picked at the beginning of the semester. This was a massive project that you were expected to start working on at the beginning of the semester, and if you thought you could do it all last minute, you were probably in for a bad time. If you try and study, and remember, pizza, french fries. What are you going to do if you try to cram all your project work at the last minute? What are you going to have? That's right, a bad time. It was myself, 2 other girls who I knew worked hard, and then this one guy that the one girl was crushing on. She had to add him to our group because he was cute or something. I have no idea. I call him idiot every time I tell the story, though, because he truly was an idiot. The girls were fantastic, and everyone pulled their own weight during the project, with the exception to idiot with a capital I. Excuse me. It was sweet revenge indeed, Shadow. That's better. Idiot never once did any of the group project work. He ignored all messages through texting, Facebook, but would answer the one girl if she was flirting with him. He would only show up to class maybe twice a month, if that. He would constantly post photos of himself on vacations in Mexico or the Bahamas. I'm pretty sure he spent more time out of the country than in it. 1 week before the project is due, He messages the group asking what pages in the textbook he needs to look through to do his part of the project. We tell him what he needs to do and where to find the information. We laid everything out for him. If we did anything more, we would be better off doing his part of the project ourselves. Idiot thanks us and then disappears. We all assumed he was doing the work he needed to do, and we were prepared to take the hit on our marks because he didn't have anything done up until now, so the quality of his work was probably terrible at best. Project due date rolls around and he's nowhere to be found and is ignoring all of our desperate messages. We, myself and the two girls, go to the professor and tell her everything that happened, along with screenshots of the literal months worth of conversations where we constantly tried to get Idiot to come to labs with us, or the library where we offered to help him do his part. The professor was not amused. Immediately fired off an email to Idiot and CC'd the head of the program as well, basically saying that Idiot needs to either do his part and show up to class next week with it, or he would receive a 0 and the rest of us won't be affected. Can you guess what happened? Idiot was a no answer and no show with no excuses or anything. Professor gave him a fat 0. Bagel. Turns out that he needed to do this project and do well on it to pass. He bombed every test, and with this failure he was denied from passing that semester. I'm fairly certain he had to retake the course during the summer, which means he, or more likely his mum, had to shell out another $1,300 just for that class. A couple of months later in the college bookstore, Idiot and his mum, I call her Screamer, ran into myself and the other girl who didn't like him, and Screamer just loses it on the girl and I, screaming out to say we constantly harassed her son and she was going to make it impossible for myself or the girl to find work. Idiot's mum works in the same field that our degrees were for, and she sat in the board of directors for the Public Health Alliance for the area, so she was a public figure and a supposedly well-behaved and educated one too. She was escorted out by security shortly after, but that wasn't all she had planned. Screamer ended up dragging myself and the girl through every single college meeting they could schedule regarding our non-existent negative behaviour towards her son, where he claimed he was constantly harassed, yet with no proof. It was literal months of this poor girl and I having to change our schedules for school classes or studying, so we didn't have any classes or chance happening / run-ins with Idiot, as that's what the college demanded we do. It made our last year or last 2 semesters living hell because we couldn't be anywhere near Idiot, otherwise we could face interdisciplinary hearings or worse. As a hunt underway, I never want Idiot on my group project. No, I've had a couple of group projects where we've had that one slacker all the time. You always have an Idiot on your group project. Yeah, I remember, I think I had one in my first year of uni, and we had we had one slacker, and well, I think most of us ended up covering his work for him because we didn't have a way around it, but he got quite a shitty mark and we all got good ones. Now for the revenge. The security company that handled the contract for the college was also the same company that handled the contract where I used to work. I was extremely close friends with the night shift supervisor, going out for drinks and playing Halo all night with him and his girlfriend, sort of close. So one night after work, I asked him for a favour, on the promise that he wouldn't tell a soul he helped me, and telling him he'd have another great video to share with his friends. I asked him to let me email the video to my personal email account. After I told him what happened and on what day and time it happened, he drove me to the campus just after the main building had closed. Him and I walked over to his security office, where they have all the recordings that run back to the day the security system was installed. He bought the video up of Idiot's mum in the college bookstore, audio and all, of her screaming at myself and my friend. He recognised Screamer. Turns out she's done this before at a different site he patrols, and he was told he had to keep it quiet by his superiors. I told him he could be as quiet as he wanted, but I was going to get my revenge on her. A quick email later and I was in possession of the video. I found out who the rest of the board members were over the course of a few days, and they were all sent an email with the video of Screamer going apeshit in the college bookstore, screaming at an obviously confused guy and a freaked out girl. The audio perfectly captured the moment where she threatened to make it impossible for me or the girl to find any work anywhere within that district, followed by her argument with security as she was escorted out. I never received any replies from the board members, so I just waited to see what would happen. Screamer was voted out from her position the following week after the video was shown during one of the meetings she was attending. She lost her very cushy government job and was last seen working in an old age home, according to a mutual friend. I'm not sure what happened to Idiot, but I did hear from the same mutual friend that he never did graduate and works at a call centre now. The girl and I ended up finding full-time work immediately after graduating and never had an issue there. Oh, and the security guard ended up getting hired by the RCMP, so I guess good things do happen to good people. Oh, Shadow Nation, walking away with literally all the creds, the only one uninjured by the plated dust viper. Very, 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 very well done. Oh, half a second, folks. Looks like we've got a bit of an arsehole. There we go. And Harrison Crett, welcome on in. High school is such a joke. No worries, Lila. You get to keep your hammer pristine for a little while longer. High school. I find that high school is stories like this make it. It's amazing when you are back in sort of in Britain we call it senior school, secondary, or I guess collectively known as secondary school. That how much it sort of matters, and things like your GCSEs or whatever sort of your first serious exams you have when you're 16 matter so much. And as soon as you get into adult life, you realise, yeah, most of this is irrelevant. The one thing I am grateful for that did matter is that I've been very lucky. The friends I met at my senior school have ended up staying my closest friends throughout my life. It's quite often the case that you can lose touch with people, and I've lost touch with some folks, or your closest friends if you go off to higher education at university and become your closest friends. But I'm quite fortunate to say that a number of my friends have been friends since the late 90s as well. You lost your what? You lost your what to a damn viper? I can't tell what that is, Darkens. I'm sorry. I work normally with 2 idiots and 1 friend. Friend does 50% of the work. I do 50% of the work. The idiots never do anything. Remind me what you do, Shadow Nation. You don't have to say, of course. It's fine. Hover over it. Okay. Let's see if that'll come up for me. Robot right. I lost my robot right to the damn viper. I'm not quite sure what it's a robot arm. The name of it is robot right. That's curious. Oh, it's an arm. You lost your robot arm. Well, that's okay. You can just get a better fresh replacement. Okie dokie. Right then, excellent story again, Darkens. Let's crack on with number 3. So, malicious compliance. We've had a couple of good ProRevenge ones. Oh, 7 days ago, medium length. So, but by the standards I go, I see it's quite short. Over 40,000 upvotes, and this is from. If you don't know what malicious compliance is, people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. And this is from user very nice username. So, I work at a grocery store, and my boyfriend and I both buy our groceries there, and sometimes he'll see me and maybe wave or say hi. We don't chat or waste any time unless I happen to be going on break. My department manager didn't know I was gay when he hired me, and he figured it out when he asked me who the guy that was waving to me was. He made a weird face, not necessarily disgusted, but you get the point. Anyway, anytime my boyfriend would enter the store after that, he would keep his eye on him. Now, if he were to wave to me, my manager would start to berate me and try and make it out like I'm slacking when I'm just stocking shelves and smiling in his direction, like nothing bad at all. He didn't care at all prior to learning that he's my boyfriend, right? Yeah, so clearly got some homophobia going on. After a week, he has a private talk with me saying my boyfriend is causing too much of a distraction and he should stop. He should shop here while I'm on shift, and if something didn't change, I might be let go. I was mad, and I told my boyfriend about it. He was even more mad. I didn't really want to make a big deal out of it, though. This is a temp job, probably won't even have it longer than a year or two. So I decided to prank my manager instead of getting into legal or corporate stuff. We have other gay friends that shop there. Crazily enough, we look just like regular people, so no one would realise, including my manager. Sure, my boyfriend won't shop there, but what about other gay people? That shouldn't matter. He just doesn't want my significant other distracting me at work. So I mentioned what happened to my 5 friends, who mentioned it to their friends, and so on. The next shift, I bore witness to 30 extremely flamboyant and openly gay men and women flaunting their sexuality in the store. Oh, that's marvellous. My manager was trying to hide in the back, but every customer needed manager's assistance for the most mundane questions. He ended up going home early, but after that shock, he actually stopped berating me for the past couple of months. He might just be happy that I'm not very open about my sexuality, so he can choose to ignore it. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Teepa says, a friend and I intentionally tanked a group project because of crap like that from other people. Oh, fair play to you, Teepa, as well. Good on you for doing that one. I was a bit too precious about my grades, to be fair. Whoa! That's 18 freaking new bits! 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Deep darkens. I can't really. How do you do that pop and lock thing? I'm too white. I'm sorry. I'm just way too white. Darkens. Thank you so much for another 1,000 biddies. This month from you on the biddy front of things, even compared to usual, has been mental, dude. You have been so kind. And yeah, that boss is an absolute prick, Shadow Nation. You are correct. A perfect cheer for that story. I'm glad you think so. A pride cheer. And yes, that's 18 more of you have got some new Pride alerts. If you've got the time, go into your Pride alerts, Pride emotes, go into your emotes, do the Pride search term, just Pride, and see what you've got, and maybe give definitely give Darkens a thoroughly well deserved and hearty thank you very much indeed. Let me where's mine, and then I'm going to go Pride because I got all of these. Let's get some colour Pride after that story. Yeah, freaking teaching homophobes a lesson. I mean, goodness sake. That is such a brilliant way to prank that dude and get revenge. Look at all that beautiful shit. All of that has come from you lovely folks just this month because I'm too damn broke to get some biddies. Oh my word, look at that winged lion. That would be a chimera. The chimera from ancient Greece is like the head of a lion and the body of a bull and wings and stuff. Or am I getting confused with something else? And it's got a snake for a tail. And I saw the colourful one there. It's like a giant gay chimera, which is glorious. Well, that was awesome. That was a nice little quick malicious compliance story. That was great. That was a really great one to have on the tail end of Pride Month, the official end of Pride Month as well. So, oh, where am I at? Oh, here we go. So we've got another one now from Malicious Compliance, number 4 from the Mr. Darkens, right there. So this is, once again, tell me to find another job after asking for a raise. Will do. I started working for a small business when I was 20. Fast forward 5 years and I'm practically running the place with just the general manager and assistant manager above me. The general manager leaves, so the assistant manager takes over, naturally. I waited 5 weeks for the owner to promote me to assistant manager. It never came, yet my list of responsibilities grew and grew. We never hired anyone to take on my role, or we never hired anyone to replace another co-worker who had left a few months prior. We are so badly understaffed that it got to the point where if I didn't show up to work, the only person that could open the business was the owner himself. That was not standard, as he's been semi-retired for 20 years. He only comes in to check on things and pay the bills about 5 hours a week at his desk. I was currently making $12 an hour. 5 weeks after the general manager left, I told the boss I wanted $15 an hour. Not unreasonable, considering the general manager was making $20 an hour and the assistant manager was making $18 an hour, both with full health insurance benefits. I was not receiving health insurance through my business at the time. Anyway, it took my boss 5 weeks to get back to me. He kept ducking me, and if you're keeping track, it's now been 10 weeks since the general manager left and I still don't have a raise. When we finally have our sit down, he offers me $14 an hour, but promises to give me a raise to $15 in a year. I explained to him that $15 an hour was more than fair, considering I don't need to be on the health insurance plan. He said the business was doing badly and that's all he could afford. For the record, the business was doing poorly compared to the previous year, but 75,000 or so had just cleared up on his payroll, so cry me a fucking river. I told him Walmart is hiring cashiers for $13 an hour, Target for $14, and another local supermarket chain for $14. We're on the coast where the living wage is $19 an hour, so don't shit your britches, people. I flat out said, why would I want to keep managing a business for $14 an hour and I can stock shelves at the grocery store for $14 an hour? He kept his cool for the most part, but was visibly upset. He said, look, we just don't pay that much here. If you want to go make that much, then go work for those people. Malicious compliance it is. Okay, you got it. I gave him an extremely generous 60 days notice. I needed to save a little more and I didn't want to leave my co-workers hanging. I also wanted to see if he'd budge. He didn't. During this time, I was expected to train new employees. It never happened. He never hired anyone. Fast forward a few weeks after my departure, the boss himself has to work part-time to make up for my hours. He's now clocking to the owner. He's now clocking 20 hours a week after going 20 years without working a 9 to 5. My old co-workers tell me he's miserable. I feel kind of bad because at the end of the day, he was a nice enough person, but I'm not going to let myself get taken advantage of. Anyway, they called me just a few days ago and wanted to know if I wanted to work the summer or busy season. I explained I have 5 years of experience in this field and left as an acting assistant manager, so if you wanted to hire me seasonally, you're going to have to pay me $17.50 an hour. The manager told me they couldn't afford that much. I said, if you want to hire a high school kid for minimum wage during the busy season, then go for it. Have fun training them. If you want to hire someone with years of experience that is already trained, you'll have to pay me $17.50 an hour. He never got back to me. I'm currently making $18 an hour, another small business. Maybe you shouldn't tell a valuable employee to find another job when they ask for a reasonable raise. Their loss. And that was from user, good lord, that name, user Unrelenting Queefs. I have to admit, he came across a little bit sort of, well, go fuck yourself kind of thing. But, you know, fair enough. He stood his ground and he or she was being underpaid and exploited a bit. So fair play to you. Hippogriff, Darkens, thank you. That's it. A pride hippogriff. Beautiful pride hippogriff. I'll get straight into a couple from I Don't Work Here Lady. So this is 4 and 5 from Mr. No, sorry, what did I do? 5 and 6 from Mr. Darkens. I Don't Work Here Lady. And then we've got one from Duncan. Let's see. So the I Don't Work Here Lady is a derivative of subreddits like Tales from Retail that involves stories about folks that go into other businesses and have irate customers mistake them from employees. So this is from user Sassabus. That's what counts as extra long in here. It's not that long at all. All right. This happened about 2 years ago. I was in a local pop culture store looking at some of the new products with my headphones on when I was bumped by a trolley. You had the Chimera description correctly. Yeah, I love my mythical beasts. I have a story, tons of them. Shadow Nation, if you have links like this to articles and stories and personal things, put them in the suggestions forum ready for Story Sunday, because that's what part 1. This is what Story Sunday is. The first part is this, and then it's very, very heavily narrative driven games. That's the sort of split we do. When I got bumped by a trolley, not hard, but it made me look up. I saw a woman who looked to be in her late 70s leaning heavily on her trolley. Sort of GG abbreviated to GG for good grandma. Clearly with shopping fatigue. When she noticed that she had pushed the trolley into me, she apologised and straightened up. Her 50-something-year-old daughter, GM for good mum, then turned to her saying how she had no clue what she was looking at and that she was thinking maybe she should just give up. She sounded upset. Now, we're standing close to the counter and we're the only customers in the store. The manager was working that day and was staring at the two women. The good mother even shot her a pleading look that was only met with a bored gaze. I knew they wouldn't get help. The manager was a bitch. She liked to test customers to make sure they weren't faking their nerdiness. She liked me because I passed her test when she questioned me about anime. Oh, so this is a sort of like comic shop, sort of nerd culture, geek culture sort of place. One of the places many of us would enjoy hanging out in. I did not like her because Well, she was a bitch. Seeing how disheartened Good Mum was when it was asked, I asked what she was looking for. Good Mum, I'm looking for some presents for my son, but I don't understand any of this anime stuff. I couldn't help but smile at that. My parents are always making fun of me for liking anime, manga, and comics, so seeing a mum trying to get gifts in this area, even though she doesn't get it, was very sweet to me. I'm sure he'll just be happy you go out of your way to try. And Good Mum says, I did find it odd a 23-year-old likes this stuff, but it makes him happy. Is it unusual as for an adult to like cartoons? I'll just say OP. OP, I'm 25 and I like it, so no. Do you want some help though? Do you know what shows he likes? Good Grandma. He said Dragon something. Attack on Titan? Death Note? One Piece, or it might have been Punch. Are they things? Oh, that's so lovely. That's really sweet. OP, both are. I started pointing out which section was for which show. I showed them who the main character was and who the fan favourite was, as well as pointing out which products were rare to find elsewhere and therefore likely to be something the son would enjoy. By then, the manager had started trying to add to the conversation. I don't know why, but Good Mum and Good Grandma would wait for me to answer their questions instead of the manager. Manager. We have some great plushies. There's plenty of Armin. Good Mum. Is he popular? A manager. Yeah, very. Me. OP. Some like him. But if you're not sure he is your son's favourite, it's probably best to buy broader stuff. There are some really awesome Dragon Ball Z lights over there. Manager. You don't even work here. Good Mum, maybe you should hire her. Good Grandma, yeah, at least then your customers will get help instead of just stared at. I think we should come back another day to get the stuff you recommended. I don't want this woman getting the credit for the sale. Savage. Good Grandma. I kind of wanted to go to the K-pop section to get this old lady a mic to drop because the pissed off look on the manager's face was priceless. Then I recommended checking out the other pop culture store 5 stores down that had different items, giving them the name of my friend who was a manager in the other store, and would happily walk them through the store answering all questions for them, like an actual manager, as the Good Mum commented. Nice women, but well, I didn't work there, lady. So that was kind of nice. That's like a little reverse. Rather than an irate customer mistaking you for an employee, that's nice customers wishing you were an employee. That's a really nice little touch. I like my mythic beast as well. I'll be fucked up, so I got it mixed up. It's not a hippogriff. I mixed it up with a griffin. So Pride Griffin. Yeah, it looks more like a manticore. That's it, manticore, with the face of the lion and the snake tail and the wings and the body of a lion as well. That's a manticore. That was it. We got there in the end, Darkens. And another excellent post from yourself, sir. And then the 6th one from last week from Mr. Darkins, I think the 6th and final from last week, from IDontWorkHereLady, is called Saved by the Karen, which is a lovely play on words of Saved by the Bell, if you're old enough to remember that. This is quite a big one. Quite a big one. All right. This is from user Screechhawk 10 days ago. Okay, that's a couple of edits. I'm still having trouble believing this happened despite the insurmountable evidence that says it did. This story also happened to my wife, which makes it so much scarier for me that I wasn't there when all this went down except at the end. And this is from IDontWorkHereLady. My wife, who we will call Jessica, or Jay for the dialogue, was shopping at our local Walmart with our daughter, who was 2 months old at this point, getting some stuff for dinner for the week. Let me preface by saying that in no way was she wearing any clothing that is said or implied that she worked there at Walmart. She was in the spice aisle during a relatively not so busy day, trying to figure out what spices we may be low of at home, when a Karen walked up to. I kind of chuckle that that's becoming an actual adjective. Now, when I say Karen, I pulled up the first Google image of the "Let me speak to your manager" haircut. You all know the one. Search result, and my wife legit thought it was her at first. That's how Karenish she looked. Oh my god. Karen, or Kay as I'll be referring to her as, looked somewhat familiar to my wife as she approached her, but any hopes of trying to figure out who she was immediately dashed the moment she opened her mouth. Karen. Excuse me, I need help getting the pancake mix. It's on the top shelf. J, looking confused. I'm sorry, Mum, I don't work here, and I can't help you out either because I'm only a few inches taller than you, so I don't think I could reach it either. K, raising her voice. Don't give me that. I know you work here because I saw you helping an older gentleman a few moments ago. Jay, looking even more confused. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I haven't talked to anyone except my daughter since I got here. Kay, raising her voice even more. Don't you dare lie to me. I know I saw you help that guy. And how dare you bring your kid to work? That is so unprofessional of you. Now, what kind of crowd did this confrontation draw, you may ask? Well, a potential questioner that may or may not exist, a grand total of one person, a lady, was standing at the end of the aisle watching all this unfold. There were a few people that looked down the aisle, but they continued walking as they did so. This is important. Now, my wife can be a pretty calm person, and she doesn't really like confrontation. But boy, does she snap real quick. It was even worse during the pregnancy. I love you, sweetie, if you happen to be reading this. Just keeping safe there. She's well aware of her quick temper and will usually walk away from a situation if her blood starts to boil. Obviously, this was one of those situations. Without saying a word, she turns and grabs the car and then attempts to leave. Karen is practically screaming at this point, "Hey, you bitch! Get back over here! I wasn't done talking to you! I want to speak to your manager! I'll have your job!" This was the last straw for my wife. She turned around and started screaming and cussing at her. She wouldn't tell me exactly what she said, but she felt so bad for some of the words that she chose. Kay looked utterly shocked. Then she suddenly placed her head in her hands and started crying. Oh, God, bitch. My wife felt bad for her for a second and was about to apologise when suddenly Kay just took off running past her. When she turned to try and stop her, she watched Kay suddenly run into somebody who was right next to my wife's cart, knocking them both to the floor. It was the same lady that was standing at the end of the aisle watching all of this confrontation as it went down. Kay very quickly shifts gears back to a usual Karen attitude. Kay, shrieking, "How dare you assault me? I'll have you arrested for this. Someone call the police on this lady." The lady in question looked very concerned and looked like she just wanted to get out of there. She got up and turned to run away, but as she turned around, the manager and a police officer just appeared behind her. "Police officer, what's going on here?" Kay's voice had gone from shrieking eagle to a very calm but very serious tone. I was instantly twitching as soon as the policeman was there. "Okay, you need to take the three of us to the back room right now." Manager, "Oh, believe me, we are." When they got back there, apparently everything was revealed. Evidently, the lady that Karen ran into had been stalking my wife throughout the store, and Karen had noticed her strange behaviour. I did not see this twist coming. She had called the police about her, hence why the officer had been there. After she hung up the phone, it looked like the lady was about to make her move. So Karen decided to try and deter her, as well as call a manager over at the same time by acting the way she did. She didn't want my wife walking away towards the lady, so she did what she could to keep her to stay. Unfortunately, she wasn't planning for her to completely take attention off my daughter. During my wife's beratement towards Kay, the creepy lady was making her move. So Karen took action while trying to keep things calm by pretending to accidentally run into the creepy lady. She also didn't flat out warn my wife because she wanted to catch this person straight up, because she knew that if she just scared her away, she might try it again with another child. I'm guessing that if push came to shove, Kay would have stuck by my wife's side rather than trying to chase her down as she managed to get out of the aisle. Upon reviewing the security footage, it was confirmed that the lady was indeed following my wife around, and after lying to the police about her identity, this is the creepy lady, they found out that she had a warrant for her arrest for relations in multiple child abduction cases across the state. It was believed that she was the head recruiter for a large human trafficking ring. I was called a few moments later and flew down the highway to meet up with my wife to make sure everything's okay. I personally thanked Karen profusely. I even took her out to dinner as a thank you for looking after my daughter and wife. I'm sure most of you are wondering if she knows the stigma around the haircut she had. And it did get brought up in conversation, and the answer is yes, she knew. She got the haircut just a little before the style got popular on the internet for Karens, but she got too many compliments and thought she looked really cute to change it. I asked if I could post a story on Reddit, and she was more than happy to let me paint her the ugly colour that she displayed at first, so long as I gave this message at the end. And the message reads, keep a close eye on your kids. There are some really messed up people here in this world. It's better to deal with an entitled Karen than it is to face off a kidnapper any day. A little obvious, but okay, Karen, message sent. Oh, and if you're reading this, please feel free to contact me. I meant to get your contact info at dinner, but it slipped my mind until we got home. That's amazing. That's such a hell of a twist. And TMD, sorry about the delay. I was mid reading the story. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Nice to have you in here. Hello. Thank you so much for popping up in the chat and saying hi. I hope you weren't waiting too long for a response there. I'm going with the Griffin. That's a true story. Yes, very, very true moral to that story. That was an amazing one, Darker. You saved the best for last from last week's tales. That was really good. And there's a lesson there. Basic moral: do not judge a book by its cover, even if it looks like an absolutely typical Karen. And then we've got one from Duncan that was also, it was the last one from last week. We've got a couple. So this is in Today I Learned. And I think this is an article as opposed to a Reddit. It's probably linked. So here we are. 94,000 upvotes. So Today I Learned is you learn something new every day, but what did you learn today? Submit interesting and specific facts about something that you just found out here. And this is in Today I Learned, in 1959, a white man from Texas disguised himself as a black man and travelled for 6 weeks on Greyhound buses. After publishing his experiences with racism, he was forced to move to Mexico for several years due to death threats. Oh, wow. Okay, let's just see, because magazine articles are usually genuinely quite a lot longer. And we'll see what we've got here. Oh, no, okay, that's manageable. It's not like one of those BBC long reads. Okay, so this is actually published in the Smithsonian.com. And thank you, Duncan, along with all the Reddit stuff. I do love having a good, wholesome thing to have a read of. And if you've just arrived, you've not been here before, welcome to part 1 of Story Sunday. Part 1 is where I literally give the Krayven voice reading treatment, as it's apparently commented, and I do a reasonable job at reading. Live reading, stories, funny anecdotes, stuff on Reddit, articles, all that kind of stuff. So this, from the Smithsonian, the article is called Black Like Me, 50 Years Later, with John Howard Griffin giving readers an unflinching view of the Jim Crow South. How has his book held up? And John Howard Griffin left on the left in New Orleans in 1959, asking what adjustments a white man would have to make if he were black. So this is a little bit more topical and political and current affairs, but I think it's going to be a really interesting article. So going to waver the usual avoidance of that we have of that in the chat for this particular one. Yeah, Shadow Nation, there's going to be lag because Pillars is running in the background the entire time, as I already said. So you don't need to keep pointing it out, please. Minecraft. I like that the description says warming up, although it's been pretty hot here the past few days here in Europe. Very, very, very true, Minecraft. And Minecraft, hello, thank you so much for popping back in again. It's very nice to see you again, my dude. So, late in 1959, on a sidewalk in New Orleans, a shoeshine man suffered a sense of deja vu. He was certain he'd shined these shoes before, and for a man about as tall and broad-shouldered. But that man had been white. This man was brown-skinned. Rag in hand, the shoeshine man said nothing until the hulking man spoke. Is there something familiar about these shoes? Yeah, been shining some for a white man. Fellow named Griffin? Yeah, do you know him? I am him. John Howard Griffin had embarked on a journey unlike any other. Many black authors had written about the hardship of living in the Jim Crow South. A few white writers had argued for integration. But Griffin, a novelist of extraordinary empathy rooted in his Catholic faith, had devised a daring experiment. To comprehend the lives of black people, he had darkened his skin to become black. As the civil rights movement tested various forms of civil disobedience, Griffin became a human odyssey through the South, from New Orleans to Atlanta. 50 years ago this month, Griffin published a slim volume about his travels as a black man. He expected it to be an obscure work of interest primarily to sociologists, but Black Like Me, which told white Americans what they had long refused to believe, sold 10 million copies and became a modern classic. Black Like Me disabused the idea that minorities were acting out of paranoia, said Gerald Early, a black scholar at Washington University and editor of Lure and Loathing, Essays on Race, Identity and the Ambivalence of Assimilation. There was this idea that black people said certain things about racism, and one rather expected them to say these things. Griffin revealed that what they were saying was true. It took someone from outside coming in to do that, and what he went through gave the book a remarkable sincerity. And hey, Citizen Piney, how you doing? Easy with the lulls there, Shadow, please. A half century after its publication, Black Like Me retains its raw power. Still assigned in many high schools, it is condensed in online outlines and video reviews on YouTube. But does the book mean the same in the age of Obama as it did in the age of Jim Crow? Black Like Me remains important for several reasons, says Robert Bonazzi, author of Man in the Mirror, John Howard Griffin and the Story of Black Like Me. It is a useful historical document about the segregated era, which is still shocking to younger readers. It's also a truthful journal in which Griffin admits to his own racism, with which white readers can identify, and perhaps... Whoa! Pause on that rather important one. He's following every one of us. Evening, Count Zero Divide. Welcome back. So just pause on a very heavy but important sort of article topic. Welcome back to the ranks of the citizenry. You are not just legit, you're Cravenstown legit. Folks, you know the drill, and a legit leaf hello to you, Piney Druid, as well. You know the drill. Hit that legit. Please, please, please. Oh, goodness, where's mine gone? So I can go bum. Especially as not just a citizen, a prime citizen. Count Zero Divide, welcome back. You are not just legit, you are prime legit. You could spend that prime sub anywhere, and the fact you opted to do it here for a second time is really, really kind. Shadow Nation's on it. Shadow Nation absolutely always crushing it with like 4 lines of legit. That's really, really, really awesome, sir. Thank you. Enjoy the continued use of your legit emoji all over Twitch. Whenever someone says legit, does someone legit, you want to emphasize other emotes with legit. Count Zero. Also, wave your silver... Oh, no, sorry, you're still on blue. I picked up the ring one. Wave your Cravenstown town flag loud and proud every time you chat. I think you're just one off your first upgrade to bronze as well. You'll be able to enter the giveaway. The giveaway will most likely be on Tuesday, the Citizens giveaway. So make sure you're present 7 p.m. onwards, that stream, and probably around 8 p.m. or something like that. I'll do the draw. You will maintain your access to Citizens Towers in Cravenstown itself. Your Twitch and your Discord are integrated as you automatically get assigned the Golden Citizens role. And last but no means least, once again, my undying appreciation and gratitude, not just for your citizenship, but prime as well. That's really, really kind. Thank you. And look at all those legits coming in there. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, and we got a hunt, right? Perfect timing! Exclamation mark hunt, because I didn't get to jump in on the last one. I was mid-read. Let's go and let's kick some plated dust vipers, maybe even Stonecrusher phoenixes. Okay. Yes, it's also a truthful journal in which Griffin admits to his own racism, with which white readers can identify and perhaps begin to face their own denial of prejudice. Finally, it's a well-written literary text that predates the non-fiction novel of Mailer, Capote, Tom Wolfe, and others. Griffin, however, has become the stuff of urban legend, rumoured to have died of skin cancer caused by the treatments he used to darken his skin temporarily. Nearly forgotten is the remarkable man who crossed cultures, tested his faith, and triumphed over physical setbacks that included blindness and paralysis. Griffin was one of the most remarkable people I have ever encountered, the writer Studs Terkel once said. He was just one of those guys that comes along once or twice in a century and lifts the hearts of the rest of us. Born in Dallas in 1920, Griffin was raised in nearby Fort Worth. We were given the destructive illusion that Negroes were somehow different, he said. Yet his middle-class Christian parents taught him to treat the family's black servants with paternalistic kindness. So obviously, if anything in here seems a little bit sort of patronizing or a bit sort of war or tricky to say, obviously it's talking from a very academic point of view of what the context of the book was, the time in which it was written, and so on. So just, bear that in mind for context, please. He would always recall the day his grandfather slapped him for using a common racial epithet of the era. "They're people," the old man told the boy. "Don't you ever let me hear you call them that again." Now that's genuine progressive thinking. Griffin was gifted with perfect pitch and eidetic, they say photographic memory, but an eidetic memory. But his most vital gift was curiosity, perfect pitch and an eidetic memory. Jesus, that's some lucky genes. His most vital gift was curiosity. At 15, did we win? Plated Dust Viper. Nice. And is that Duncan coming in there? Hello, Duncan. Citizen Duncan, delightful to see. Griffin, his most vital gift was curiosity. At 15, he earned entrance to a boarding school in France where he was delighted to find black students in class, but appalled to see them dining with white people in cafes. "I had simply accepted the customs of my region, which said that black people could not eat in the same room with us," Griffin later wrote. "It had never occurred to me to question it." Griffin was studying psychiatry in France when Hitler's troops invaded Poland in 1939. Finding himself in the presence of a terrible human tragedy, he joined the French resistance and helped smuggle Jewish children to England. When he told an informer of a plan to help a family escape, his name turned up on a Nazi death list. Fleeing just ahead of the Gestapo, Griffin returned to Texas in 1941 and enlisted in the Army Air Corps shortly after Pearl Harbor. While working as a radio operator in the Pacific, he was sent on his own to the Solomon Islands to ensure natives' loyalty to the American war effort. For a full year, Griffin studied tribal languages and adaptation to the jungle, but still assumed that mine was the superior culture. After getting blasted with shrapnel in an enemy air raid a few months before the end of the war, Griffin awoke in a hospital seeing only shadows. Eventually, he saw nothing. The experience was revealing. "The blind," he wrote, "can only see the heart and intelligence of a man, and nothing in these things indicates in the slightest whether a man is white or black." Blindness also forced Griffin to find new strengths and talents. Over the next decade, he converted to Catholicism, began giving lectures on Gregorian chants and music history, married and had the first of 4 children. He also published 2 novels based on his wartime experience. Then, in 1955, spinal malaria paralyzed his legs. Blind and paraplegic, Griffin had reason to be bitter, yet his deepening faith, based on his study of Thomas Aquinas and other theologians, focused on the suffering of the downtrodden. After recovering from malaria, he was walking in his yard one afternoon when he saw a swirling redness. Within months, for reasons that were never explained, his sight was fully restored. Across the South, in the summer of 1959, drinking fountains, restaurants and lunch counters still carried signs saying whites only. Most Americans saw civil rights as a Southern problem, but Griffin's theological studies had convinced him that racism was a human problem. "If a white man became a Negro in the Deep South," he wrote in the first page of Black Like Me, "what adjustments would he have to make?" Haunted by the idea, Griffin decided to cross the divide. "The only way I could see to bridge the gap between us," he would write, "was to become I'm going to switch out and just say black man from now on, was to become a black man." An acquaintance told Griffin the idea was crazy. "You'll get yourself killed fooling around down there." But his wife Elizabeth backed his plan. Soon Griffin was consulting a dermatologist, spending hours under sun lamps and taking a drug that was used to treat vitiligo, a disease that whitened patches of the skin. As he grew darker day by day, Griffin used a stain to cover telltale spots, then shaved his head. Finally, his dermatologist shook his hand and said, "Now you go into oblivion." Oblivion proved worse than Griffin had imagined. Alone in New Orleans, he turned to a mirror. In the flood of light against white tile, the face and shoulders of a stranger, a fierce, bold, very dark black man, glared at me from the glass, he would write. He in no way resembled me. The transformation was total and shocking. I felt the beginnings of a great loneliness. Stepping outside, Griffin began his personal nightmare. quotes added. Whites avoided or scorned him. Applying for menial jobs, he met the ritual rudeness of Jim Crow. "We don't want you people," a foreman told him. "Don't you understand that?" Threatened by strangers, followed by thugs, he heard again and again the racial slur for which he had been slapped as a boy. "That word," he wrote, "leaps out with electric clarity. You always hear it, and it always stings." Carrying just $200 in traveller's checks, Griffin took a bus to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where a recent lynching had spread fear through the alleys and streets. Griffin holed up in a rented room and wrote of his overwhelming sense of alienation. Hell could be no more lonely or hopeless. He sought respite at a white friend's home before resuming his experiment. Zigzagging, he would call it, between the two worlds, sometimes passing whites offering him rides he did not feel he could refuse. Astonished, he soon found many of them simply wanted to pepper him with questions about Negro sex life or make lurid boasts from the swamps of their fantasy lives. Griffin patiently disputed their stereotypes and noted their amazement that this black man could talk intelligently. Yet nothing gnawed at Griffin so much as the hate stare. Whoa! Hit that legit! Hampshire's coming in hot with an absolute army of marauders. My goodness, welcome on in, folks. Welcome on in. It is delightful to have you. Much, much legitness for Mr. Hampsh. Please, 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 keep them coming, keep them coming. Welcome, Raiders. If you haven't been here before, my name is Krayven. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming on over. Today is Story Sunday, and we're still in part one. Part one is where I read funny stories submitted by my community from Reddit or interesting articles and science, and just give a little bit of live reading following the warm-up. And then in part two, which will be maybe another sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, we move over to very, very narratively strong and narratively rich games. So tonight we've got Pillars of Eternity 2. I apologise for a little bit of delay and a little bit of lag because I got Pillars 2 running in the background because it takes so long to start up. But welcome to part one, and without further ado, must give a shout out for Mr. Hampsh, who was by just yesterday for my first ever live art stream and was very, very supportive about that. Folks, if you're not following Hampsh, do please go and check him out. He's really, really good. He's definitely, hands down, one of my favourite streamers. Europe's most sexy, in my humble opinion. He's doing Revenge of the Childhood, 1001 games, not only that he didn't play as a kid, but that are out at the same time that he would have never have gotten around to necessarily playing. From eras right from the NES. Hey, Kitten Panda, good to see you again. It's been a hot minute. He's been doing... I think you're up to 56 completed games at the moment out of 1001, from the earliest of the NES up to PS2 and Xbox era, and he's played. On top of that, he's just super, super friendly and really welcoming to everyone. Sort of, if you like sort of this our little corner of Twitch and the nice people that we sort of hang with and the sort of positive community we try and put forward, then you are doing yourself a serious disservice to not go and check him out. He's regularly. He's also he's looking to get into
Darken's Trade one legit Pride Winger.
Darken's dropping another. Oh, Kitten Panda. No worries. Thank you so much for the follow.
Our community grows.
It does indeed, with the delightful Kitten Panda, who is also a streamer. Who is also a streamer from the Retro Crew. No worries, my dude. No worries at all. No worries at all. It's never an obligation. And thank you so much, Darkens, for another 500 biddies. And those of you, especially you Raiders who've just come in, have a little look through your emote search with the abbreviation Pride, because 10 of you just got some new Pride emotes. And if you didn't already know, Twitch have now decided, because I don't think they were going to deal with the horrible fallout if they didn't do it, but Twitch have opted to make the Pride emotes permanent. Mega Cheer and all of those, not only are those emotes now going to be whatever ones you get to keep forever, but they've extended it by 5 days. So normally today was the last day of the Pride Month Mega Cheer thing, but it's now been extended to the 5th of July. So spend those biddies that those of you who like to spend biddies on your favourite streamers, and it will help if you do the Pride alerts. It will help generate more emotes that everyone gets to keep permanently, and Hampshire's a very deserving recipient, I must admit. Mate, thank you for bringing them over, and welcome. I'm halfway through an article in the Smithsonian that's very, very interesting about John Howard Griffin, and it's very much about well, I'll just continue reading it, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the stories. Glad I got them all early. You got one, yes, nice, excellent, very, very deserving. So where was I up to? Zigzagging between the two worlds. Noted their amusement that this black man could talk intelligently, yet nothing gnawed at Griffin so much as the hate stare, venomous glares that left him sick at heart before such unmasked hatred. He roamed from Alabama to Atlanta, often staying with black families who took him in. He glimpsed black rage and self-loathing, as when a fellow bus passenger told him, "I hate us." Whites repeatedly insisted that blacks were happy. A few whites treated him with decency, including one who apologised for the bad manners of my people. After a month, Griffin could stand no more. A little thing, a near fight when blacks refused to give up their seats to white women on a bus, sent Griffin scurrying into a coloured restroom where he scrubbed his fading skin until he could pass for white. Then he took refuge in a monastery. Before Griffin could publish reports on his experiment in Sepia magazine, which had helped bankroll his travels, word leaked out. In interviews with Time and CBS, he explained what he had been up to without trying to insult Southern whites. He was subjected to what he called a dirty bath of hatred. Returning to his Texas hometown, he was hanged in effigy. His parents received threats on his life. Any day now, Griffin heard a mob would come to castrate him. He sent his wife and children to Mexico, and his parents sold their property and went into exile too. Griffin remained behind to pack his studio, wondering, is tonight the night the shotgun blasts through the window? He soon followed his family to Mexico, where he turned his sepia articles into the book Black Like Me. In October 1961, Black Like Me was published to wide acclaim. The New York Times hailed it as an essential document of contemporary American life. Newsweek called it piercing and memorable. Its success, translated into 14 languages, made into a movie, included in high school curriculums, turned Griffin into a white spokesman for Black America, a role he found awkward. When Griffin was invited to troubled cities, he said exactly the same thing local black people had been saying, notes Nell Irvin Painter, a black historian and the author of The History of White People. But the powers that were could not hear the black people. Black speakers in America had little credibility until yesterday. Some CNN correspondents who are black now get to comment on America, but that's a very recent phenomenon. As the civil rights movement accelerated, Griffin gave more than 1,000 lectures and befriended black spokesmen ranging from Dick Gregory to Martin Luther King Jr. Notorious throughout the South, he was trailed by cops and targeted by Ku Klux Klansmen who brutally beat him one night on a dark road in 1964, leaving him for dead. By the late 1960s, however, the civil rights movement and rioting in northern cities highlighted the national scale of racial injustice and overshadowed Griffin's experiment in the South. Black Like Me, said activist Stokely Carmichael, original name Kwame Ture, is an excellent book for whites. Griffin agreed. He eventually curtailed his lecturing on the book, finding it absurd for a white man to presume to speak for black people when they have superlative voices of their own. Throughout the 1970s, Griffin struggled to move beyond Black Like Me. Having befriended Thomas Merton, he began a biography of the Trappist monk, even living in Merton's cell after his death. Hatred could not penetrate his hermitage, but diabetes and heart trouble could. In 1972, osteomyelitis put him back in a wheelchair. He published a memoir urging racial harmony, but other works about his blindness, about his hermitage days would be published posthumously. He died in 1980 of heart failure. He was 60. By then, the South was electing black mayors, congressmen, and sheriffs. The gradual ascent of black political power has turned Black Like Me into an ugly snapshot of America's past, yet Gerald Early thinks the book might have been even more relevant now than in the 1960s. Because the book talks about the events that took place some 50 years ago, it might get people to talk about the racial issues of today in a calmer way, with a richer meaning because of the historical perspective. Nell Irvin Payton notes that while the country is no longer as segregated as it was half a century ago, segregation created the two-ness Griffin and W.E.B. Du Bois wrote about. The two-ness and the sense of holding it all together with your daunted strength and being exhausted. That's still very telling. 50 years after its publication, Black Like Me remains a remarkable document. John Howard Griffin changed more than the colour of his skin. He helped change the way America saw itself. Well, that was an amazing article. That was really good, and that was linked from in Reddit. Today I Learned. An abbreviation Today I Learned was in 1959, a white man from Texas disguised himself as a black man and travelled to 6 weeks on Greyhound buses. After publishing his experiences with racism, he was forced to move to Mexico for several years due to death threats. So that was very, very powerful indeed. That was a really nice in-depth article. Thank you, Duncan, for putting that one in. Okay, that catches us up from last week where I was sick. We've got a... Oh, hang on. We do have I think a quick one I just a little bit missed there. Just when it says a not safe for work joke. So let's just see what this one's about. Oh, it's been deleted. Okay, that's unfortunate. No worries. That was education. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, that was well worth the read. Okay, and from this we've got two more, and we're on to Pillars 2. We're on to part 2 of the stream. So this is another one from Duncan in Today I Learned. And if you don't know, if you're not a browser of Reddit, Today I Learned is, you learn something new every day. What did you learn today? Submit interesting and specific facts about something you just found out here. So Today I Learned... an orangutan in San Diego Zoo kept escaping his enclosure so that he could walk around the zoo and look at other animals, as well as throw feces at his ex-enclosure mate that he didn't like. Okay, this is from the website Morbidology. How long's this one? Okay, this is a pretty swift, sort of quick little article from Morbidology. Ken Allen was a Bornean orangutan living at the San Diego Zoo. He swiftly became the most famous animal in the history of the zoo, due to the number of successful escapes from his enclosures he committed. Ken was born in the zoo in 1971. According to some sources, he was given the name Ken after Alex Brown and Company, a Wall Street brokerage, gave the zoo a hefty donation and requested that their ugliest orangutan be named after one of the firm's equity traders. Other sources claimed he was named after zookeeper Ken Willingham and zoo security officer Ben Allen. Ken was raised in the zoo's nursery after his mother, Maggie, made threatening gestures towards him. Early on, it was evident that Ken suffered from an incurable wanderlust. While in nursery, Ken learned to escape his crib by removing the bolts. He also enjoyed unscrewing any light bulb he could get his hands on. From then, until Ken got too large, Joanne Thomas, one of the zoo's nursery attendants, often took Ken out of his crib and took him around the zoo in a stroller. He was like a precocious child who was just too intelligent for his own good, she stated. Ken's first escape from his enclosure happened in the June of 1985 when the 4'6", 250-pound orangutan escaped by climbing up his retaining wall. During the escape, Ken, who had a very passive nature, just wandered around the zoo and looked at all of the other animals like any other patron of the zoo. In fact, Ken was so placid that a number of visitors walked right up to him and had their photograph taken with him. The second escape came in July of 1985 and the third in August of 1985. However, during the final escape, Ken made his way to the enclosure of Otis, a Sumatran orangutan and former penmate of his, who was not known to be amiable. Once there, Ken threw rocks at Otis before he was escorted back to his enclosure. Ken became such a celebrity that the zoo marketing department sold sweatshirts with his face emblazoned on the front, with some witty slogans such as "Free Ken Allen." Moreover, a local artist recorded a song titled "The Ballad of Ken Allen," in which he sung that Ken was smarter than 100 humans at the San Diego Zoo. He even had his own fan club known as the Orang Gang. Ken wasn't just known for his escapes either. While he was typically placid, staff at the zoo said he despised when humans paid special attention to any of the other apes. On one occasion, a TV crew was filming the gorillas in the enclosure next door to Ken when he started lobbing rocks at them. When he ran out of rocks, he proceeded to throw feces, which sent the crew scattering. The zoo spent $40,000 to completely secure this Houdini's enclosure. They smoothed the front surfaces of the rock outcropping, eliminating any cracks and crevices used by Ken to pull himself up. Afterwards, Ken was never able to escape again. "He's not cured, just contained," said Ken's keeper, Gail Foland. I think the impulse to climb out is still there. In addition to securing his enclosure, the zoo also introduced 4 female orangutans into his enclosure. Ken hadn't had any companionship in almost a year. He had lived with his son, Kellen, who had died of an internal infection that hadn't been noticed by zoo staff until it was too late. It's so hard to tell when these animals are sick, said Karen Kilmar, animal care manager for primates. It's such an instinctual thing for them to hide it. While the female company did keep Ken occupied somewhat, and I bet it did, he taught some of them how to use a branch like a human would use a crowbar in an attempt to help them escape. On the 1st of December 2000, Ken Allen was euthanized after being diagnosed with advanced cancer. Oh, he was just 29 years old. Orangutans can often live well into their 40s, and the oldest in captivity lived to 65. The decision to end Ken's life was said to be a surprise to staff at the zoo, who expected him to have at least 6 months left to live. That's the uncertainty of medicine, said Bruce Rideout, the zoo's chief of pathology. Our chief concern was quality of life. Believe you me, this took us by surprise. Well, that was quite amazing. That's a interesting life story of Ken Allen, the orangutan. Yeah, oh, don't worry. Yeah, I saw the advert halfway through there, Duncan. No worries. And the last one for part 1 tonight, and then we'll move on to Pillars of Eternity 2. One more from Mr. Darkins for I Don't Work Here Lady, the subreddit in Reddit of involving stories of folks that go into other businesses and have irate customers mistaking them for employees. And fairly meaty one. Okay. Entitled woman demands I fire an employee and then threatens my job when I don't tell her I don't work there. So I fired myself. Let's see. This story takes place roughly 2 years ago at a local grocery store chain. Let's call it Crowmart. I did work at Crowmart at this time, but at a completely different location. Also, I didn't drive at this time due to medical reasons, as well as in case any content creators stumble upon this. I've already censored it for you all. The car star as follows. Me, so I'll say OP instead of me. OP, 19-year-old tired shopper blasting MCR on headphones. Mum, my mother, doesn't talk much. EW, just picture your not so friendly neighborhood Karen. Okay. NC, nice customer. E, employee who deserves a raise. M, manager who doesn't talk much. After finishing up with a long tech rehearsal for an upcoming musical I was part of, my mum picked me up to go straight home. Alas, this is not what happened. Halfway there, she tells me we needed to run by Crowmart. Upon arrival, I was ready to get out of there. I suggested we split up to cover more ground. Since I've gone to this location as long as I could remember, I knew exactly where everything was, which is when NC, the Karen, approached me. NC taps on shoulder. OP removes headphones. Yes, madam. Karen, would you mind telling me where the insert name of item that I don't remember is located? OP, sure, it's on aisle 12. And the NC, thank you very much, proceeds to walk away. I went ahead and started playing my music again, and as I looked around, I saw the EW, the friendly neighborhood Karen, talking to the employee with what seemed to be an angry manner. As soon as I saw her point in my general direction, I looked away and went about my shopping. That's when she struck. The EW, excuse me, manager, you over there. OP knows it's impossible she's talking about me since I'm not a manager. That's when I felt a tug on my shoulder. And as I turned around, I saw a very angry EW in my face. Me, OP, God, I wish I'd just stick with OP, takes out earbuds. Man, please don't touch me. I do what I want. I'm a flipping paying customer. OP takes a step back. Cool. So am I. No, you're not. You work here. I know it. Madam, I'm trying to tell... And then the employee, madam, I'm trying to tell you he doesn't work here. The EW, yes, he does. The only reason you're saying otherwise is because he's your manager. No, at this time, I was a 5'5" teenager wearing a red button-up shirt, black tie, and reddish jeans. Nothing close to Crowmart attire. Again, OP, again, I don't work here. Karen, shut up, just shut up. You work here. I saw you helping out another person. I know you're his manager, and I want him fired this instant for not getting my candles. If you don't, I'll have your job too. OP, knowing this isn't going anywhere, I decided to have some fun. All right, employee, she's caught us. I'm only pretending to not be a manager to upset you. Now, what's the problem? The Karen, finally, this idiot keeps telling me you are out of the candles I like and there's none in the back. OP, well, I guess we're out. No, you're not. I know it. OP, you're right. We're lying again. Employee, you're fired. Go get someone higher up than me because I'm fired too. Employee who's been silent up until this catches on and goes to get the manager. Karen, well, before you're fired, you need to get me that candle. OP, find it yourself. You said you'd have my job, and guess what? You've had it. Your boss will be here. The manager will be here in a moment, so I suggest you get... sorry, I read that wrong. Find it yourself. You said you'd have my job, and guess what? You've had it. Your boss will be here in a moment, so I suggest you get to work. Karen, visibly shocked. Wait, what? This time, the employee and the actual manager show up. Manager, what's going on here? OP, oh, hey, boss. Here's your new employee. I hired her to take my place since I'm fired now. Karen, no, I don't want to... OP, but of course you do. You said you could do it better. Isn't that right, boss? Manager, trying to suppress a grin. Sir... You don't even work here. OP, oh, I know, but she insists I am. In Karen, but you do work here. Manager, no, ma'am, he doesn't. It looks at the OP. Sir, you can go now. Employee filled me in already. Sorry for the hold up. OP, it's all right. It's been fun not working for you all. I leave manager, employee, and Karen to sort things out. A short while later, I was waiting for my mum up front when I look over and see employee speaking to nice customer. Nice customer sees me, waves, and starts walking towards me with the employee who had a worried look on his face. Nice customer, sorry to bother you again. OP, oh, it's no problem. What can I do for you? Nice customer. Nothing really. I just wanted to tell you how great of an employee... the employee is and how helpful he was. Employee, ma'am, I appreciate this, but nice customer. It's all right. Don't be embarrassed. I just believe that management deserves to know good workers who help their customers. OP, ma'am, I'm glad you had a great experience and all, but I don't actually work here. Nice customer. You don't? But you seem to know where everything is and you were quite helpful. OP, that's because I've gone to this store as long as I can remember. As for helping you, I don't mind since you asked nicely. Nice customer. Oh, well, I'm sorry to bother you. Have a wonderful day. Leaves to go and find the actual manager. It was an interesting day, to say the least. So, that was awesome. Karen has become something of a byword for a certain type of lady who always wants to see your manager. That sounds like it doesn't sound like the best looking outfit, does it, Teepers? All right, folks, thank you everyone for all these delightful, lovely submissions. I really, really appreciate it, as always. Stick around, don't go anywhere. I'm literally now just going to update. We're going to go into part